War brings no peace. Both victor and loser will carry its scars. But this war is different. Without this battle, there can be no peace. Because it is the struggle that happens within a sadhaka every single day until enlightenment. In this epic, every warrior, every force represents a facet of our own inner nature. So, let's witness Lalitopaakhyaana through the eyes of a seeker. In the previous episode, we have seen what exactly is Lalitopaakhyaana, the three forms of Adi Parashakti, and the manifestation of Lalita Parameshwari. We have also understood that the personification of the misplaced desires inside every one of us, that is demon Bhandasura. Most importantly, the esoteric meanings of each and every characters and in-depth meanings. We have explored this story in the spectrum of Lalita Sahasranaama also. Before continuing to the actual story, we need to have the basic understanding of the importance of Puranas. It is not just a battle between Devata and a Rakshasa. Otherwise, it looks like a simple mythology where Devi comes and kills a demon. We cannot really imbibe the essence of it. Okay, we are so proud of Vedas, right? But how many of us can really read and understand it? It is very complex. So the sages had already foreseen the intellectual level of us in Kali Yuga. So that is why they gifted us Puranas hiding the sacred knowledge in the form of stories. The complex philosophy of Vedas is made palatable to common people like us. Similarly, Lalitopaakhyaana is also one such story in which the entire essence of Srividya tradition is encapsulated. The 4 days of a war between Maa Lalita and Bhandasura represents the journey of a sadhaka through 4 states of consciousness: Jagrata, Swapna, Sushupti and Turiya. Finally, when the war ends, sadhaka reaches Turiyatita, the final stage. Bhandasura had already formed a massive army of thousands of Akshohinis. To counter them, Lalita Devi manifested her own divine force, the Shaktisena. Who are these Shaktis? They are all Devis, including Nitya Devis, Ashtasiddhis like Anima, Garima, Mahima, Avarana Devatas, Yoginis, and many more. That's why in Lalita Sahasranaama, Devi is praised with the name Bhandasura Vadhodyukta Shaktisena Samanvita. But in any army, it is required to have the commanders for various divisions. So Lalita Devi manifested a radiant and beautiful goddess, Sampatkari, from her Ankusha. Sampatkari Samarudha Sindhura Vrajasevita means Lalita Devi was served by Sampatkari with her mighty herds of elephants. Their movement felt like the mountains were moving, the battlefield was shaking. But what Sampatkari means really? Sampat means wealth. Sampatkari is the giver of wealth. What kind of wealth? The wisdom and clarity for a seeker, which is the most valuable wealth. And then from Ma's Pasha emerged Ashwarudha Devi. Ashwarudha Dishtitashva Koti Koti Bhiravrita. Crores of horses advanced forward under the command of Ashwarudha Devi. She was moving with such a grace, it seemed like she was dancing with the rhythm of her horses. Similarly, in a seeker, horse represents the mind, restless, powerful and difficult to control. Ashwarudha Devi represents the Shakti that gives mastery over that. This provides the seeker tranquility of mind. Next, Maa Lalita created Dandanatha Devi from her ego. She is also called Varahi, the boar-headed goddess. Kirichakra Ratha Ruda Dandanatha Puraskrita. She was seated upon Kirichakra Ratha, a chariot with 5 enclosures. They represent the Panchatanmatras and Panchabhutas. Dandanatha means commander-chief of entire Shaktisena. She brings that discipline in a seeker, which is very essential for spiritual growth. But the intellect holds the power of decision making. Maa Lalita created Mantrini or Shamala with her intellect itself. Geya Chakra Ratha Rudha Mantrini Parisevita. She was seated upon Geya Chakra Ratha, the chariot of 7 enclosures. These 7 layers symbolizes 7 musical notes. Creation itself is a vibration. In our culture, we have a word called Shabdabrahma or Omkara, from which universe is created. So the universe is not just a matter, it is a rhythm, sound, and divine harmony. And Mantrini Devi always takes care of that sacred melody of creation. And finally, the Supreme Lalita Parameshwari began her divine march. Chakra Raja Ratha Rudha Sarva Yudha Parishkrita. She was seated upon magnificent Chakra Raja Ratha, equipped with all divine weapons. This chariot had 9 enclosures, and most powerful goddesses were seated in each one of them. If we represent Chakra Raja Ratha geometrically, in 2 dimensions, it becomes Sri Chakra. In 3D, it becomes Sri Meru Yantra. Interestingly, in Bhavanopanishad, the 9 enclosures were correlated with 9 chakras in the human body. These are Mooladhara, Swadhisthana, Manipura, Anahata, Vishuddha, Ajna, Manas, Soma, and Sahasrara Chakra. They represent the complete journey from the physical world to the supreme consciousness. Both the armies are now ready. A strange fear began to spread across Shunyakapattana, the city of Bhandasura. Until now, Bhandasura and his people had never imagined a defeat. They had seen Devas running away from them. They had seen Dikpalakas tremble. But now, a woman had appeared from the sacred fire, and she was not afraid at all. So Bhandasura called for a meeting. In that assembly, his brother Vishukra laughed mockingly. These cowardly devas burned themselves in fire, and from that fire, a woman was born. Is it supposed to frighten us? Is it possible for a tiny sprout to break a mountain? Vishukra continued with even greater arrogance. Not only Indra, even Brahma, Vishnu, Mahadeva know our strength. The Dikpalakas themselves ran away. What can this woman do to us? Everyone laughed again. But Vishanga was silent and worried. He advised, no enemy should be ignored, however small they may appear. Hiranyakashipu, Shumbha, Nishumbha, Mahishasura all fell because they neglected their enemies. Before we attack, we must understand her strength and weakness. So, let us send our spies and gather information. But pride never listened to wisdom. Bhandasura dismissed his advice. Overconfident in the power of his army, he turned to his chief commander Kutilaksha and ordered him to send someone to fight Lalita Devi. So, as his lord ordered, he sent Danava named Durmada with 10 Akshohini of the army. And to protect Shunyaka, he also stationed 10 Akshohini in each direction, east, west, north and south. For Durmada, it was just a small task. But looking at the enemy army advancing, Sampatkari took the charge. Her forces moved like storm. On the other side, furious Durmada charged towards Sampatkari on his giant camel. He started raining the arrows. You know what happened? One of his arrows struck the gem of Sampatkari's crown. That was enough. Sampatkari raised her bow and released stream of powerful arrows. In moments, Durmada was struck down. Seeing their commander fall, the remaining Danavas lost courage and fled the battlefield in fear. But this is not just the fall of a demon. Durmada represents arrogance, the pride that can arise in a seeker. A sadhaka may begin to think, I am superior because I am spiritual. Others are still trapped in worldly life. This is where many seekers get stuck without even realizing it. Sampatkari Devi represents the wealth of true knowledge, the wisdom that protects the seeker from spiritual arrogance. So Durmada was dead. It was a shocking surprise for Bhandasura. Unable to accept, he shouted, "What is this mystery? After all, she is just a woman. Send the warlord, Kurunda. Let him drag that woman by her hair." Sampatkari had just slain Durmada. So Ashwarudha asked her to rest and took the charge of the battle. Kurunda was Durmada's brother, so it was not just a task by his king, it was also personal revenge. He rained the arrows drawn from his Shrangadanas. Even the divine horse of Ashwarudha, Aparajita, fought fiercely. The Ashwarudha Devi unleashed the Pashayuda. From it arose countless nooses, spreading like a giant mass of serpents. They moved through Kurunda's army and destroyed his forts. Kurunda became even more furious. He did something terrible. Using his most powerful arrow, he broke Ashwarudha Devi's bow itself. But she did not step back. Filled with divine force, she hurled her Ankusha, the goat, straight into his chest. The demon who was sent to drag Lalita Devi by her hair could not even reach her. This was unimaginable for Bhandasura. Let's see who is Kurunda inside us. The inability to differentiate between constructive and destructive thoughts inside us is Kurunda. Ashwarudha Devi riding the horse represents the mastery over thoughts. When Ashwarudha destroys Kurunda, it shows the seeker how to overcome inner confusion and regain direction. Now Bhandasura realized that the war was becoming serious, but he still had many demons left on his side. So he ordered Kutilaksha to send 5 commanders, led by Karanka, along with 100 Akshohinis. He was certain that such a colossal force would break Lalita Devi's pride. Soon, the massive army began its march. Dust rose everywhere, covering the sky like winter fog. Their banners carried strange symbols, but their most terrifying weapon was not army. It was a Maya called Sarpini. Sarpini means the queen of serpents. Her form was horrifying. Snakes covered her body and countless more emerged from her mouth, nose, limbs, and every part of her form. Some had 2 heads, some had 4, and some even had heads on their tails. They were deadly and poisonous. The battlefield was filled with serpents. The poison killed many Shakti Devis. Fear spread through the Shaktisena. At the same time, Karanka and the 5 commanders attacked from their mighty elephants with an immense force. Will Shaktisena lose this battle? At that moment, Nakuleshwari Devi appeared, born from the cheeks of Maa Lalita. Nakuleshwari opened her mouth in divine rage. From her 32 teeth emerged 32 crore golden mongoose. It was feast for them. The mongooses rushed upon the serpent and tore them apart. The Nakuleshwari Devi released the Garudastra. Its fire filled the sky and destroyed the power of Sarpini's Maya. The Danava army lost its strength. Seated upon Garuda, Nakuleshwari rose into the air and cut off the head of Karanka and the 4 commanders. The surviving Danavas, as usual, fled back in fear to give the news. A lot of violence, right? But is it really a violent story? Not really. These 5 commanders symbolizes the Panchabhutas, the 5 fundamental elements: earth, water, fire, air, and space. The human body itself is made up of these 5 elements. Our health depends on how well they remain balanced. When this balance is disturbed, a sadhaka becomes vulnerable to physical ailments and mental disturbances. In the story, this imbalance appears as Sarpini, the force of disease and poison. And then comes Nakuli Devi, the embodiment of Prana Shakti, the life force. She destroys Sarpini, restores the balance. Yoga and Ayurveda also says the same thing. The proper regulation of prana is very essential for maintaining health and harmony within the body. After so many defeats, any ordinary person would have stepped back. But Bhandasura was not ready to stop. So now he sends his 7 commanders, the Sapta Senapatis. Each of them possessed special powers, and this time they did not come with small force. They marched with 300 Akshohinis. This army was so vast, it was larger than the population of many countries today. Together, they launched a massive attack on Shaktisena. At first, the battle looked balanced, but the 7 commanders had one dangerous secret power. Yes. Long ago, they had performed severe penance to please Surya Deva, the sun god. Pleased by their tapas, Surya granted them a terrifying boon. During the battle, my power will remain in your eyes. Whoever comes with your sight will become numb and powerless. Now they activated that boon. The moment the Shaktisena came under their gaze, they lost their strength. Even though they wanted to fight, their bodies would not obey. They stood helpless, unable to defend themselves. At that critical moment, Dandanatha Devi sent her bodyguard, Tiraskarini Devi, into the battlefield. Tiraskarini Devi flew into the warfield on her divine aircraft and released Andhastra, the blinding weapon. In an instant, the power of 7 commanders was reversed. Their own sight was destroyed, and Tiraskarini Devi slew them off. But again, this is the same battle that happens within a seeker. After overcoming pride, confusion, even the possibility of disease, the seeker enters more subtle stage. Now the obstacles are no longer gross, they become mental. The mind begins to ask, have I reached divinity? Have I found the truth? Is this the ultimate bliss? These thoughts may look spiritual, but they can still numb the progress. They arise from the 7 layers of ignorance or distortion: Moha, Samshaya, Viparyaya, Pramada, Tamas, Vikshepa, and Asmita. Tiraskarini literally means the one who rejects. She represents the power that rejects the false perception. She blocks negative influences, illusions, and confusions before they take hold of the seeker's mind. Only then sadhaka can move to the next stage. Many of Bhandasura's powerful commanders were dead. The Sarpastra had failed. The power of sun had been neutralized. Every strategy had collapsed. Bhandasura lost his balance and called for another council. This time they took the advice of their spy. They had discovered that the rear side of the Chakra Raja Ratha was less protected. Vishanga set out with a small force to attack from the rear, a war deception. No drums, no war cries, no warning. Under the cover of darkness, the Danava's force moved silently, waiting for the right moment. Then suddenly they struck. Vishanga launched a surprise attack on Chakra Raja Ratha of Maa Lalita. At the same time, Kutilaksha attacked from the front with a massive army. Now the Shaktisena was trapped in a two-front war. Seeing this, calm face of Lalita Devi turned into fury. While she was observing the battlefield formation, Vishanga released another arrow. This time, it stuck and shattered the royal fan of Lalita Devi. That moment changed everything. Vaishnavini and Jwala Malini, the radiant Nitya Devis, began to shine with intense light. Their brilliance spread across the battlefield. It turned the darkness of night into bright daylight. Nitya Shodashika Rupa. Nitya Devis are the forms of Shakti herself, but expressed in 15 different ways like success, harmony, auspiciousness, etc. And 16th is Maa Lalita herself. All the 15 Nitya Devis rose in fury. Nitya Parakrama Topa Nirikshana Samutsuka. They entered the battlefield and annihilated the entire Danava force. Wounded and humiliated, Vishanga and Kutilaksha fled from the battlefield. Thus, the first day of the war ended heavily in the favor of Lalita Devi. In this story, Kutilaksha represents the crooked perspective of the world, and Vishanga represents the poisonous worldly attachments. In the journey of every seeker, the poisonous attachments, the wrong perspective of the world, continue to trouble unknowingly in deception. If the seeker becomes a slave of them, the inner war is lost. But if he remains firm and overcomes them, then the Vishanga and Kutilaksha within him is defeated. Remember, Kutilaksha and Vishanga are just defeated. They are not dead yet. They will come back. After this stage, the Kundalini moves through the chakras, and the sadhaka may experience extraordinary states, visions, and siddhis. These experiences can also become distractions. But how? Let's explore the second day of the war. Even though Lalita Devi's army had gained the upper hand, Mantrini and Dandanatha Devi are not fully satisfied because despite all their strength and preparation, an arrow had reached Lalita Devi. It was a breach. Jwala Malini Kakshipta Vanni Prakara Madhyaga. Nitya Devi named Jwala Malini created a massive wall of fire, 100 yojanas wide and 30 yojanas huge. There was only one entrance facing Shunyaka. This was only meant for the movement of the army. Even that entrance was guarded by 20 Akshohinis under the command of Stambini Devi. On the other hand, even after all these defeats, Bhandasura sent his 30 sons into the battlefield. This time, Bala Devi was eager to enter the battlefield, beloved daughter of Maa Lalita. She was born from her heart. The eternally youthful 9-year-old Devi. She was radiant with innocence and divine power. But how can a child fight such a fierce battle? The mother hesitated at first. But seeing Bala Devi's courage, Lalita Devi gave her permission. Throughout the second day of war, Bala Devi fought with astonishing valor. Finally, she released 30 arrows at once, and with those 30 arrows, she slew 30 sons of Bhandasura. Bhandaputra Vadhodyukta Bala Vikramanandita. Maa Lalita was happy to see Bala Devi's annihilating 30 demon sons of Bhanda. Bala Devi represents the pure innocence. She is the state a seeker must return to, free from pride, from ego, from illusions of spiritual achievements. But when Kundalini arises, when sadhaka achieves siddhis, it is very natural to get the illusion of achievement and become prey to the pride. These are the 30 Bhandaputras. By killing them, Bala Devi brings the innocence and childlike heart to the seeker. Now his brother Vishukra stepped forward and entered the war himself. Unlike the others, Vishukra was skilled in black magic. He created a mysterious yantra named Jaya Vigna Yantra and secretly threw it inside the fire enclosure. The moment its influences spread, the entire Shaktisena fell into deep sleep. Some became lazy and unwilling to move. Some began to question the war itself. Why should we fight on behalf of Devas? Who is this Lalita Devi? Who gave her authority over us? If all of us refuse to fight, what can she do? They thought sleep itself was the highest bliss, and so they all slept. At midnight, Vishukra surrounded the fire enclosure with 30 Akshohinis, yet no one from Shaktisena moved. Only Mantrini and Dandanatha Devi remained unaffected by Vigna Yantra. But even they could not find a way to break its power. So they prayed to Parameshwari. Lalita Devi looked at Kameshwara with gentle smile. From that divine glance, Ganapati manifested the remover of obstacles. Mahaganesha Nirbhinna Vigna Yantra Praharshita. Ganapati moved straight towards the hidden Vigna Yantra and shattered it instantly. The Shaktisena was awakened as if life had returned to them. Their confusion vanished, their strength returned, and once again they stood ready for the war. In desperation, Vishukra sent Gajasura against Ganapati. But before Gajasura could create any destruction, he was slain by Mahaganapati. As usual, by seeing this, Vishukra ran away in fear. Even after many achievements in the sadhana, the mind makes one final attempt to pull the seeker back. It asks, why struggle? It says, stop, now rest, this is enough. This is the power of Vigna Yantra, the force that pushes the seeker into ignorance, laziness, doubt, and false satisfaction. To overcome this, the sadhaka needs the inner maturity. He must become capable of receiving Devi's karunya, the compassionate glance of Kameshwari. That grace manifests Ganapati, who represents unwavering confidence, faith, and power to remove the obstacle. Now let us return to Bhandasura's side. By the third day, Bhandasura's side had suffered heavy losses. Vishukra, Vishanga, Kutilaksha had fled in fear. But now Kutilaksha suggested a new plan. As per his plot, Vishanga, Vishukra and the 10 son-in-laws of Bhandasura advanced into battlefield. This time Shaktisena was fully ready and awake. Dandanatha Devi seated on Sri Chakra Ratha, wielding her Halayudha, faced Vishanga. Mantrini Devi, seated on Geya Chakra Ratha, fought Vishukra with her bow and arrows. Meanwhile, Sampatkari and Ashwaruda engaged the 10 son-in-laws. Devis fought with such a force that Danava's army began to shatter. Seeing the battle slipping away, Vishukra changed his strategy. He released Trishtastra, the weapon of unbearable thirst. The effect was immediate. The Shaktisena was overcome with intense thirst. Their strength drained, their energy weakened, and hope began to fade. For the first time that day, the advantage shifted back to the Danavas. Dandanata Devi invoked Madhya Samudra, the ocean of divine nectar like liquor. Madhya Samudra showered the liquor rains. Shaktisena quenched their thirst and rejuvenated. The battle intensified once again. Before sunset, all the son-in-laws of Bhandasura were slain. The Mantrini destroyed Vishukra with Brahma Shironama Astra, and Dandanatha killed Vishanga with her Halayudha. Interestingly, the Lalita Sahasranaama describes this other way round. Vishanga was slain by Mantrini and Vishukra by Varahi. Bhandasura had ruled Shunyaka for more than 60,000 years. In all those years, he had never faced an enemy like Lalita Devi. Until now, his commanders were enough. Any army who dared to rise against him would be crushed. But this time, his commanders, sons and brothers all were gone. Only Kutilaksha remained by his side. But never giving up, he rised again. He set out towards the battlefield over 2,000 Akshohinis, along with 40 commanders followed him. He rode the dreadful chariot Abhilamu, drawn by 1,000 lions. In his hands were his sword, Yatana, the very symbol of torment. Seeing Bhandasura himself march into battle, Lalita Devi too set forth on her Sri Chakra Rajaratha. Mantrini Devi followed on Geya Chakra Ratha. Dandanatha Devi followed on Kiri Chakra Ratha, and behind them came countless Shakti Devis. Now there was no turning back. This was the final battle. Countless arrows filled the sky, casting the darkness upon the earth. Elephant fell, blood flowed like rivers across the battlefield. He unleashed powerful astras, Andatha Mishraka, Bhakandastra, Andhastra, Shakti Nashastra, and many more. But Mahadevi countered every single one. Bhanda Surendra Nirmukta, Shastra Pratyastra Varshini. She showered counter weapons against every weapon released by Bhandasura. Still, Bhandasura did not stop. Enraged, he invoked dreadful Maha Asurastra. This is the turning point. All the cruel Rakshasas who died in Purana already came back. Madhu, Kaithaba, Mahisha, Chanda, Munda, Shumbha, Nishumbha, and many more. They rushed into the battlefield and began to overwhelm the Shaktisena. But Lalita Devi responded in her own way. From her divine power, she manifested Durga Devi, seated upon roaring lion. Durga Devi entered the battlefield and destroyed those Rakshasas effortlessly. Yet Bhandasura persisted. He invoked even greater forces. Hiranyaksha, Ravana, Shishupala, and many other powerful demons, all those whom Vishnu destroyed in his Dashavataras. Karangulina Khotpanna Narayana Dashakritihi. The Supreme Mother manifested the 10 avatars of Mahavishnu from her fingertips to destroy these demons. Every force Bhandasura brought into battlefield was met by its divine answer. Then Lalita Devi invoked Narayana Astra and Pashupatastra. Maha Pashupatastragni Nirdagdhasura Sainika. By the fire of great Pashupatastra, the entire Danava army was reduced to ashes. Now, Bhandasura stood alone, with none of his allies left. The Devi unleashed the Mahakameshwarastra. Kameshwarastra Nirdhagda Sabhanda Surashunyaka. In an instant, Bhandasura was destroyed. His city, Shunyaka, was consumed by flames and reduced to ashes. It is the end of inner darkness. When a seeker overcomes negativity, distraction, pride, siddhis, and every form of illusion, he begins to realize the truth. The Jivatma and Paramatma are not separate anymore. The world had been saved from the demon. But without Kamadeva, creation could not thrive. Because for nature to continue, desire also has a role. At the same time, Tarakasura was still alive. And to destroy Taraka, Shiva had to unite with Parvati. But for that union to happen, desire had to arise once again in Shiva's heart. So the Devas prayed to Lalita Parameshwari. They requested her to restore Kamadeva. Lalita Devi smiled compassionately and looked at Kameshwara. Haranetragni sandagdha Kama Sanjeevanaushadhihi. From her divine glance, Manmatha was reborn. She blessed him and instructed him to awaken desire in all beings. Only then could the world continue to evolve. The journey of a Jivatma towards the Paramatma has been beautifully presented through these beautiful stories. But how the inner world of an enlightened being looks like is also described in Lalitopaakhyaana as Chintamani Graha. We will explore that divine realm in the next episode. Until then, this is Kathamandira, the temple of Puranic stories.